Hi there, I'm Anna Bisak, and I'm here talking with Allie Forward about her career. So Allie, can I have you start by telling us what do you do for work?
Sure. I am a therapist in private practice, working with a diverse client population in Burlington, Vermont.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about what your job entails?
Sure. So my practice is just myself at
Mhm.
this point. It is part working with clients and then running my own business, maintaining the administrative aspects of the business, the financial parts, and then doing the direct service work with clients,
Mhm.
which involves individual therapy, usually once a week with individuals struggling with mental health issues or just folks looking for some guidance and support um, through life. I work Monday through Friday, usually
Mhm.
between like 9 to 5, 10 to 6.
Mhm.
I mean, it's I make my own schedule, so there's flexibility there, but generally work a 40-hour work week,
Mhm.
kind of working between clients and also maintaining the other aspects of the business.
Mhm. That's great. Can you talk a little bit about your kind of educational and career background and how you came into this work?
Sure. So I started out at UVM as an undergraduate, where I was studying environmental studies and community development and applied economics. Not particularly interested in human services work, but I got a job part time working at Spectrum Youth and Family
Mhm.
Services as one of their peer outreach workers, which kind of derailed any professional plan I had at 21 years old in the sciences or the
Mhm.
environmental fields. I kind of fell in love with social work and ended up staying at that job for 3+ years, even after graduation. And Spectrum works with at-risk and homeless youth.
Mhm.
So working in a social work capacity, informal kind of therapeutic support and case management. And after that experience, I kind of knew that that was actually where I wanted to be.
Mhm.
So did some kind of traveling and
Mhm.
volunteer work after my time at Spectrum. Went out to Seattle
Mhm.
and then kind of realized that in order to be doing the more kind of structured, intensive therapeutic work that I was kind of seeking as the next step, I would have to go back and get a master's degree. So went back to New York City, which is where I'm from, and got my MSW, Master's of Social Work
Mhm.
at NYU, and focused my education on trauma and working with youth. Um, at that time, I wasn't really sure if I was going to stay in New York City or where my next, where I
Mhm.
would land. But met my husband
Mhm.
at that time, and he was from Vermont, so ended up getting rerouted back to Burlington, Vermont,
Mhm.
where I took a job at a methadone Suboxone program through
Mhm.
Howard Center as my first job outside of after getting my
Mhm.
MSW. When I was in New York, I also during my time at NYU did field placements in addiction and substance abuse treatment at a variety of different outpatient settings, and also had a year of doing psychotherapy work in an outpatient psychotherapy center. So
Mhm.
had some experience doing individual therapy there. But yeah, found my way to Howard Center, worked at the Chittenden Clinic for about a year, kind of transitioned out of that role into kind of a pilot program through Safe Recovery, the needle exchange program in downtown Burlington, where I was working with people who were looking to get into treatment, but were still actively using opiates as their kind of case manager and harm reduction therapist when the opiate crisis was really bad, which was an incredible experience, though pretty heartbreaking. Though I've heard right now Burlington is doing a tremendous job with getting people into treatment, so that position has kind of evolved. And then after that, I got called back to Spectrum. I feel like the universe was telling me that I needed to return to where I started my career. Kept running into Mark Redmond on the street. And so I started there as a counselor and then transitioned to be the drop-in coordinator for a number of years, where we did tremendous work with at-risk youth at the time. We were able to kind of expand the hours to 7 days a week, working on the weekends and extend our hours and provide services for increased youth accessing our services. So that was great. Loved it. But after 3 years there, I thought it was time for a different type of experience, something a little bit more, not slow paced, but was really interested in practicing more consistent therapeutic support. So started my private practice through Otter Creek, which is a great outpatient therapeutic program or therapeutic business in Burlington, Vermont, and then transitioned after a year into my own private practice, so Allie Forward Counseling, and so have been at that for about 2 years now. Been a long time. And I have an office on Pearl Street with some other counselors where I provide individual therapy for clients, though right now with COVID, I'm doing a lot of that work over Zoom from my office at home. So kind of transitioning between those two environments.
That's great. Thanks. Let's see. What are some of your favorite things about your job?
I love my job. There's so much that I love. I think that the ability to work with clients over a long period of time, providing that kind of consistent support, and really being able to see the gains of therapy with clients is probably the most rewarding part of the experience. Like I have some clients I've been working with for 3 years. They've never missed an appointment. And you know, at this point we can reflect on the years of growth, of healing, of overcoming challenges that, you know, that they have experienced and that we have overcome collaboratively. So especially with young people like that at that transition age, to see someone who, you know, might be coming to therapy for the first time at 18, 19 years old, and to see them now as confident, grounded, healthy, happy individuals. I mean, everybody has their challenges and their down days. I mean, it's not, perfection is not the goal, but I think therapy works, you know, and if you do the work, you know, I think you can overcome tremendously difficult things in your life, and you know, the clients that have been doing the work with me, they're a testament to that. So I think that's the biggest reward. The relationships with those clients. I specialize in a type of therapy called EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it is an incredible therapy treatment model that that works incredibly well for people with trauma or a diagnosis of PTSD. So I think that work is especially fascinating and rewarding to, again, see someone who might be, crippled with anxiety, with symptoms from their PTSD, where they can't live a functional day-to-day life, and to see them heal like drastically, like through this process, when they really never believed that was possible. That's been really incredible. And if you're not familiar with EMDR, like, look it up. It's an amazing treatment modality. And it's really transformed my practice over the years. So those are the two biggest rewards. I do also enjoy, and I know, the flexibility with my schedule. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of work that isn't focused on the clients and maintaining the practice to provide best services. So some of the kind of more challenging parts of social work within an agency, even though, there certainly are rewards working with a team of people, but there's always aspects of the job that get in the way or take priority over just that one-on-one work with clients, which in private practice isn't the case. It's really the core of what I do, and it's why I love doing the work.
That's great. And that kind of leads into the next question: is what are some of the things that you find the most challenging about your current work?
I mean, the administrative parts of the job are at times challenging. I think being on the phone with insurance companies, and getting documentation, done each day, sometimes can feel it's not the most fun part of the work that I do. But again, it's kind of streamlined compared to some other jobs that I've had where honestly it's not so bad. I think the hardest part of the work is sometimes not having the answers for clients, and I think especially this year with everything that's happening, I think everyone's experiencing fear, anxiety, collective trauma, essentially. Even if someone is kind of removed personally from the virus, from the racial injustice stuff that's happening nationally and globally, I think it still is weighing heavily on everyone I work with, and myself included. So it's not as simple as providing therapeutic tools to make that anxiety go away. Like sometimes people are going through really hard times, and that's okay, or there's not a quick solution to that. So as someone who sometimes wants to fix people's sadness, I think just allowing people to be sad, allowing people to be anxious, sitting with people's grief right now can be heavy. So that I don't know if that is the hardest part of the job, but it's certainly the heaviest part of the
Mhm.
job, and something that we as therapists need to do our own self-care work
Mhm.
to be resilient to that.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. You talked a little bit about this already, but could you walk us through what a typical day might look like for you?
Sure. So I get up in the morning and I do actually my own self-care work, as I was
Mhm.
just had mentioned.
Mhm.
I try to get some exercise,
Mhm.
and meditate and get a little me time. I'll walk my dog before I start my day, so
Mhm.
that I can be present with my clients. So usually I start that somewhere in between 7:30,
Mhm.
8:30, and then around 9, 10 o'clock, after I've kind of responded to emails and kind of put together a plan for the day, I log into my computer.
Mhm.
Everything is over telehealth at the moment, and sit down on this couch,
Mhm.
and listen to my clients talk about their week, whatever is a pressing concern in their life, um, and and I listen.
Mhm.
Sometimes people just need that. They need a sympathetic ear to kind of sort out all the chaos of the week,
Mhm.
and 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 that alone can, I think, be uh, be helpful for people's anxieties, for people's sense of connection.
Mhm.
Um, Other people, are coming to me for very specific needs. So with EMDR, I'll have an appointment scheduled, and we jump right into that work, which is a
Mhm.
little bit more active. So um, again, I encourage
Mhm.
people to look into it. It's kind of a fascinating treatment modality, um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a lot of energy. It's really engaged work, for me as the therapist.
Mhm.
Usually I see between 5 and 8 clients a day.
Mhm.
So I'll space out my appointments, with breaks, throughout the day, so that I can, eat, stretch, take a
Mhm.
walk, check my email and phone again. If I have to make phone calls or um, respond to insurance companies, I'll do that. But try to space appointments out so I can um, just have a little bit of downtime, to recharge and jump back on, and again be present, be
Mhm.
engaged with clients, meeting whatever needs that they show up with, that day. And then you know between 5 and 7 o'clock at night, I wind down, after my last appointment by finishing up my notes, and I'm trying to do an evening meditation so that I can
Mhm.
really kind of end my day and leave it behind, which
Mhm.
I think as a social worker, as a therapist, can often be the hardest part of the work.
Mhm.
Letting go of the work that was done, and not continuing to think and feel about the work that was done.
Mhm.
Just leaving it for the evening, to return to the next day, but not bringing it into my own world.
Mhm. Mhm. That's great. What do you think would make someone a good fit for this kind of work?
Great question. I think that I've worked with so many young people
Mhm.
that have been curious about social work or just helping people in general, and through Spectrum mostly,
Mhm.
would seek out an opportunity to volunteer or get
Mhm.
their first experience working with clients, to to see if it's the right fit. And that was actually my favorite part of working in that capacity, was being a mentor, being a supervisor to those young people who are trying to figure it out. And I think the quality that, really stood out in people exploring social work for the first time, and whether they would catch on and excel, was just kindness, and a curiosity about other people, about other people's life experiences, a an empathy for maybe the struggles, the challenges that other people have experienced and overcome in their life, and patience. Understanding that change is hard, and that your life experience, while it gives you a framework to understand other people in the world, certainly doesn't give you a comprehensive understanding of what others are going through. So, I think coming into the field without a lot of expectations, but with a desire to help, is the best place to start. And yeah, I saw some amazing people, enter the field with no experience, with little education or belief that they would be good in this field, immediately, excel at working with some of the most difficult clients, most difficult situations, and to go off to be incredible helpers, social workers, therapists, people in human services, after kind of falling in love with the work like I did.
That's great. And so you kind of just touched on this, but if someone's interested in doing this kind of work and they're like a middle or high school student, is there anything you would recommend that they do right now to kind of continue to explore?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, volunteering, it's a great, it's just great. It looks great on your resume, for colleges. It's a great way to meet other people, to learn more about your community. And it's an incredible way to test it out, to see if working, with vulnerable populations, is something that you enjoy. It feels good to give back in your community. You learn so much through the process, from the clients, from the work that you're doing within the community. And, I found over the years that, it doesn't take much, for it to click, whether, this is it, this is the work that I want to do. And even if it doesn't, go on to be, your career, I still think that there is so much benefit to having those experiences, to see where there's opportunities in other fields, to be giving back, to be more patient, to be more kind, to be, to be empathetic, with the people, in your community, in the people you interact with, in your job. Volunteering, all the way.
That's awesome. Thanks. And then what kind of education or training should a student be thinking about down the road if this is the kind of work that they want to do?
I'm a social worker, so I'm a little biased. I think BSW, Bachelor's of Social Work programs, and MSW programs are an incredible way to get your foot in the door, at some of the best jobs in social work, and a great way to also to get the experience, to get the
Mm-hmm.
training hours to eventually be doing private practice, which is what I'm doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, run your own business. And you know, there's so much you can do with an MSW.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in high school, I won't go into that, but I didn't love school.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was I was taking classes that I just wasn't passionate about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love calculus. I didn't love
Mm-hmm.
chemistry. I wasn't particularly great at those subjects. But when I was taking courses in human services, when I was
Mm-hmm.
taking courses in areas of social justice and
Mm-hmm.
psychology, I I found out that I loved school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, again, I really encourage people, you know, to check out what those degrees look like.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you, you know, think that you don't love school, if you love social work, if you love working with people, you might surprise yourself and find out that, you know, you can have a very different experience,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to hands-on learning, which a lot of
Mm-hmm.
programs provide.
That's great. Thanks. Anything else you would want to share with students about your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are just so many opportunities to find out, you know, if this is the right field for you, and to give back to your community at the same time. I know United Way has like a great program to
Mm-hmm.
connect people to volunteer positions in the community. There's just so many wonderful nonprofits in Vermont that give people an opportunity to give back in whatever way they can,
Mm-hmm.
at any stage, you know, in their own life experience and development. I mean, at Spectrum, you know, we had like 5-year-olds like coming in
Mm-hmm.
and helping make lunches for
Mm-hmm.
the youth, you know, and you know, people who are 80, 90 years old coming in and talking to youth. I know, you know, COTS is another great
Mm-hmm.
place. Pathways, a new place. There's just so many awesome nonprofits that really are able to run through the participation of volunteers and young people. Like some of the, you know, the greatest volunteer efforts were youth in high school
Mm-hmm.
that would come in and cook meals, you know, help, you know, organize donations, do fundraiser
Mm-hmm.
campaigns. But yeah, I think if you're interested, you know, just, you know, reach out, see where there's a need, and usually there's not a huge time commitment that you
Mm-hmm.
have to commit to, you know, get started.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that there are awesome programs, you know, within the schools, within CCD,
Mm-hmm.
within some of the local colleges that also are giving back, and collaborating with the social work within the
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit that's happening within the communities, and those people working, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
those structures, whether it's VSAC or
Mm-hmm.
CCV or Johnson State or VTech or UVM or Champlain. Like, in my experience, the educators, the adults who are working in there love helping young people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
figure this stuff out and connecting youth with other people, you know, who are great at getting people started, answering questions, and helping people figure out the best fit as they're kind of sorting out, you know, what they want to be when they grow up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mhm.